Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our 30-minute lunch and learn today. I am going to get started in just a second because we have a lot to cover that I'm excited to cover today. And I want to be conscientious of everyone's time, whether it's lunchtime for you or early afternoon. I am going to try my hardest to keep this within less than 30 minutes. So there are time for questions if you have any. And I'll go through some just notes, but feel free to throw any questions in the chat at any time during our presentation. And if I don't get to your question by the end of our call, I'll be sure to follow up individually with everyone. But I am excited to see everyone. Hello, happy Wednesday. Welcome to this Lunch and Learn from Donately. My name is Sarah Ellis. I lead customer success here at Donately, and today we're going to be talking about how to boost donor engagement through running smarter, simpler campaigns, really through A/B testing. I'm not sure how familiar you are on A/B testing, but if you've ever launched a campaign and wondered to yourself, is this working, could I be doing something else that's better, then I hope that you're in the right spot, and I hope that you find all of this information helpful. So let's dive in. So here's what we'll be covering today. We'll start with the basics. Pretty much what is A/B testing, why should it matter, and then I'll really kind of walk you through the structure like fundraising campaign around A/B testing, especially using landing pages, because that's what Donately's marketplace has specifically in terms of running an A/B test. We'll cover examples from like what to test in terms of messaging, images, your CTAs, and how to kind of figure out what resonates most with your audience. And that could be for that specific campaign. It could be overall. It really kind of varies. And then I'll leave with like just 5-6 quick wins that you could start this week if you're looking to start something soon, no matter what the size of your team is. And also just some housekeeping notes. I will be sending out a copy of all of these slides. This is being recorded, our campaign playbook specifically for A/B testing campaigns after this webinar. So if for some reason you have to leave early or pop off, you'll still get the entire presentation if you register for this. So let's dive in. All right, so let's start with the basics, should we? A/B testing is just really a means of putting two versions of something out there in the world and seeing which one works better. Sounds pretty simple. That something could be as small as the headline on a donation page. It could be as big as your entire layout of an entire email that's going out. You're going to send, version A to half of your audience, version B to the other half of your audience, and then you really compare the results. Which version got more clicks, more opens, more donations? And really, this isn't, just like a marketing trick. In my opinion, it really does help you learn what actually resonates with your donors. For instance, say you have two subject lines that you're sending out in an email. One subject line is, we need your help. The second subject line is, you can give families shelter tonight. You might find that like 40% of your open rates are for version B. And that's not just a good guess, right? That's proof from your A/B testing. And it's something that's important because that specificity really does work and it matters when engaging with your donors. Additionally, when it comes to like a donation page, you might have two different headlines. One is support our mission, and another might be help fund mental health support for teens in crisis. One will drive more conversions, and you might not know which one until after you launch that. But once you do have that data and that information, it will really help you write your next campaign. And this matters because it just makes your engaging with your donors smarter. You're not starting over every time. You're really building on what you found works. And if you are part of a small team or a one-person team, that can honestly be a game changer in terms of like how much time and effort you're putting into just thinking of the next campaign and the next messaging to go out. So if you're thinking, where do I start with all of this? I hope that this presentation point. Donately Campaign Marketplace is something that we developed as a free resource with ready-to-launch fundraising template. This includes a template specifically designed for A/B testing, and you can use it all with Donately. Donately is flexible because it's different and fundraise is different in a different way. So really the goal of the marketplace was to help anyone launch your campaigns, your strategy with just more confidence and clarity in what you're doing. I could spend our 30 minutes on A/B tested donation campaigns. So that said, feel free if you want to explore the place. This QR code here on other giving and maybe more storytelling or a live behind the campaign. You can really, check out or later. This QR code will also be at the end of the slide deck as well, and I'll be emailing it out to all of you as well. But whatever stage you're in, there is something in there for you, promise. So A/B campaign. Let's talk about this campaign and how it's different from something that like your campaign you reach and find success, it's often driven by like the energy and effort of the people that are sharing it for you. So your board members, volunteers, other supporters. But in an A/B campaign, it's all about the message itself. You're asking, what do people get and act? What visuals drive more trust in our mission? This means that this kind of campaign will give you direct, measurable insights into your audience. The objectives here aren't just about raising money, which also is very helpful, but they're more about learning what works. Because if you know what works, then you can, one, write more effective emails to your supporters. You can, to drive, design stronger landing pages that you're driving donors to. And, you can also just craft better calls to actions that you're putting out there in social media and stuff. For example, if say like 75% of your donors complete their gift on landing page A. Now you know exactly like what headline or structure really makes a difference. This testing loop kind of becomes like a force multiplier. You're not just improving this one campaign, right? You're collecting insights from that campaign that you can use all year long. You can use it for campaign messaging, general messaging, email messaging moving forward. And that is really truly how you can go from making, your best guesses to like creating best practices when it comes to your fundraising. When you are building a A/B campaign, one of the most important things to consider is your audience, right? Not all donors are the same, and your test should reflect that. An A/B test isn't just about which headline is better. It's about which headline is better for the person that's reading it. Let's say that one version of your donation page is focused on emotional storytelling, but then the other focuses on like your stats, the credibility, all of that behind the scenes. You might find that that emotional storytelling works better for new visitors that are coming to your page that are new to finding your organization, while like the stats and info page that resonates more with like your loyal donors, the reoccurring donors that want to see what their donation has impacted, those like results. So through that, you're not just kind of like tossing one or the other. You're using those insights to really help you build smarter segments with your donors. So then you can tailor your messaging to meet your donors where they are in their journey. Instead of then just sending out just blanketed information about the campaign, you're really learning about what donors care about in these segments. And then it could be the same campaign, but you're pushing out information specifically that aligns and resonates with them. Like I said, like these insights will help you build smarter segments. You can tailor your messaging to really help your donors. You can also test by channel. You know, what subject line gets more email opens? What image works better on, say, Facebook versus Instagram versus LinkedIn? Your audience will tell you what they want. You just have to be collecting that data and then like listen and review it, because that's all that A/B testing really does. It like turns your donors' behavior into like tangible insights that you can take and move with you as you're continuing to fundraise. So let's move into strategy. This is because, you know, good messaging is only powerful when it's delivered in the right way, in the right place. And I think we could all probably think of just marketing fails or messaging fails that, you know, they thought they were sending the right message, but maybe it landed to, you know, other people, but it might not have landed to you. And so like A/B testing isn't just for your landing page, it's for your whole campaign experience. That's kind of what makes this campaign, in my opinion, like this format, so effective. You know, with Donately's A/B template, you can test your headlines, you can test your campaign images, you can test your call to action, you can even test your donation form and the style of the form. But the testing really shouldn't stop there. And I'll kind of show an example of like what that format can look like later on. But again, it shouldn't stop there. You really should be looking at your audience and the message pairings for that audience. So think about for close friends or family, a personal story over like email or text, that's gold, right? You know, try A/B testing different lead-ins, as you know, like why do I serve, or why I'm asking today for this gift. You'll be able to kind of see which one drives more clicks to your page a lot sooner than you think. You know, in thinking about like that professional network, LinkedIn, you want to test positioning. You know, one version can really lean into the leadership role that you might have. Another can focus on the overall community impact. And you'll start seeing what language your network is responding to. And that could also help you see that who is within your network. Are they more in the leadership piece, or is it just more community based? When it comes to like your public, general public that you are kind of messaging to, testing on like social is a really helpful way to understand what resonates. Does an image start with a short caption, and is that creating more engagement, or are you actually getting people that want to read those long posts with links? You'll honestly only know what works by trying both. But once you try both and you can see like, you know, that it is actually that long form post with a link, you know that moving forward, maybe not for all of your campaigns, but you can see what resonates more. So what format to continuously keep doing. And then for past donors, I think that A/B testing is really great when testing like your follow-up timing. Think about when like the campaign or your donation receipt goes out, like one version, you could thank donors and maybe ask for maybe one-time donors and ask for that reoccurring gift within 48 hours. While it's still fresh in their brains, they know what they gave, they know how they wanted to support. You could also try another version of waiting a few days and then sending something out about, hey, would you like to continue your gift in a reoccurring manner? And this could be because maybe they donated a large amount of money and they're not quite ready to do that within the next day or so. But a week later, they, if you remind them of that impact they made, they could be ready to start that reoccurring donation. So yes, your campaign landing page is definitely your hub, and Donately's like A/B template can help make that easy to test. But all that said, I don't want you to forget that like your surrounding communications, marketing efforts, email, social posts, all of that are just as important. Because that message is what's going to bring someone to that campaign page, to that donation page, to your website. And that is part of the test too. Now, kind of zooming out, let's kind of take a look at what happens when someone first sees your campaign and what that process is, where they move from curiosity and eagerness to then making that commitment and creating that donation. This is the donor journey, and A/B testing can really help guide it faster and smarter. When looking at like the 4 stages that every single donor is going to go through, the awareness stage is that first time that someone sees your message. Maybe it's a LinkedIn post from a board member, maybe it's a homepage banner, but what matters here is that first impression. Some like A/B testing ideas could be trying a different headline or a different image on your landing page just to see what grabs attention first. An example could be the reason why we reach 1,000 meals given to our community versus join the movement to end food insecurity. Both of those messages could align to different types of people, and by testing it, you can see what style messaging works best. And then after that awareness stage, they're in the consideration stage, right? So now they're reading more, they're learning more about your impact, and they're kind of deciding whether this matters to them. So an A/B test idea could be using different like intro paragraphs or storytelling formats in your general campaign. One, again, like we kind of talked about, might lean into like that personal story, that storytelling piece, and another might choose like stats or infographics to really tell that story. It could be a brief like impact about a family that your organization has supported or helped. It could also be a bullet pointed list of what a $50 donation really can do and make an impact in your organization. So those are like different kinds of ways to test throughout each of these stages. When a donor then gets to the decision stage, this is the moment that they decide to give or they decide not to give. And a really strong, simple donation experience is what matters here. So this is where I would suggest trying 2 different donation pages. One might be with suggested gift amounts. So say donate $25, $50, $100, and one might just have an open field. You could also test the donation button itself to say give now or make an impact. You could really kind of test a lot of different things within the donation form, but it's all about, again, resonating with the donor and thinking about who your donors are and how quickly they want to kind of move through that process once they have decided I want to give. And then that post engagement is they gave, so now what, right? And I think this is something where I've seen a lot of organizations kind of just stop, but it really is where you can help build your retention. Like we kind of talked about, or what I spoke about in the slide or so before, was you can try 2 different follow-up email sequences. One with like a quick link and like a quick thank you and like a link to share, the campaign out into their network. Another might be a deeper story of like a family impact, a personal impact story, and then maybe next steps on how to become a recurring donor. Like your gift helped make this impact. What want to see what could happen next. I think for me, some main takeaway regarding just the messaging is that every single donor is going to move through these 4 stages. A/B testing really just helps you speed up that journey by removing the friction. You're highlighting the right message at the right time, and you're learning what actually works for your audience. And what I think is the best part is you don't really need a massive data set. You really just need 2 clear options and a short, window of time to test to see what works. And then once you have those results, you just have to double down on what resonates and then just full bore push ahead on that. Okay, so taking all of that strategy, right, and turning it into a real doable plan is probably where most people need guidance, at least from what I've seen. On this slide, you'll see like this is a sample, just 8-week roadmap for launching an A/B landing page campaign. You can stretch this to 10 weeks. You could even kind of tighten it to 6 weeks, whatever fits your team or your fundraising flow. I think what matters here is just understanding why each stage exists. So week one is really about clarity, setting your campaign goal, choosing one or two elements to test, and then defining what those audience segments are. Week two is where you're kind of building and you're creating those two separate variant pages. Same structure, just the key differences might be the image, the headline, or the donation form that's linked to it. Week three is about messaging. So, writing your emails, your posts, your messages that are driving traffic, again, equally across both versions. And then this is all before kind of the launch. This is all like your pre-setups. That's why we kind of shrunk into less than a 10-week campaign, because we always need a soft launch where you're testing what works. And that's where week four comes in, where you're kind of teasing that launch. You're building awareness with, soft posts, early previews of what's happening. You're just getting people curious, and this is a great time to get board members, recurring donors, like in on this test launch to kind of really start putting those feelers out of what works before you go live. Because week five is where you're going to go live, launching both versions, splitting traffic evenly, and just watching how they perform. Week six is where I would consider optimizing. So again, kind of taking that data that you've been looking at, and you can view your campaign landing page data activity if you're using Donately right in your campaign page under the activity header. You can also add in your Google Analytics or Pixel ID to track in Search Console. So there's different ways that you can take that data that's coming in and really use week six to optimize and understand what's working and what's not, so that on week seven, that next week, you can double down and really shift traffic to that top performing campaign or page, and amplify that strongest messaging that was working. And then week eight is really just wrapping up and learning. So, documenting the results and insights so that you know what you can repeat or change for your next campaign. And just a reminder that you don't need a huge team to do this. You really just need structure, a way to track what's working. And just like bonus tips or thoughts, I would say just keep a simple spreadsheet, just to track key metrics. Or if you're using Donately, just utilize the campaign activity dashboard of both of your campaign landing pages, because that's really, really helpful. Also, like I keep saying, just only test like one or two variables at a time, because too many changes, it's going to muddy like the results. You're not going to know, was it the header, was it the image, was it the form, like what brought people to this page. So really just kind of test with like small things and share what you learn. If you're not a super one-person team and you have other people doing other pieces of your campaigns, make sure you're sharing all these small improvements and these strategic little wins you're finding, because it helps your coworkers, your other team members know how they can adjust their outgoing messaging or outreach with your supporters. And like I said, on the last side, you don't need a huge tech stack to like run an A/B campaign, but I think you do need to have a few basics in place. One, obvious, you want to start with a clear goal. You want to know what you're testing, like is the headline, the photo, the CTA, and have those two landing pages ready to go. You want to track the performance using simple tools. Donately could be one of them. Google Sheets could be another one. You can assign someone to just monitor it weekly. And then if one page is a clear winner, pause that other page and lean in and shift to that winner. You'll see on the left side of this slide, I kind of put together just a checklist of, goals, test variables, just segment into audience of what you should be looking for. And then under that checklist, what to kind of watch for and track once you've launched your campaign. Because like the real power of A/B testing is what it teaches you. It's showing you what resonates with your donors so you can repeat it across your campaigns, across your emails, and, other appeals that you're doing. And, as someone on a smaller team, this is especially good for you all, because this helps you focus and it gives you proof, and it's not just, guesswork. And now if I can kind of be slightly blunt for a second, I will say that A/B testing really only works if you run it with intention. testing isn't just a checkbox. It's how you sharpen your message. It's how you connect with your donors and how you build smarter campaigns over time. So there are do's and there are don'ts in what this looks like. You do want to test one element at a time, so you know what's successful. If you're testing a headline, image, and the CTA, you're not going to know what's successful. You also want to make sure that both versions are getting the similar types of traffic, so your data is clean. It's not skewed from the get-go. You also want to make sure that if something clearly works, reuse it. That's how you build smarter campaigns without having to start from scratch, is really logging what is working and continue to do it over time. What to avoid, similar, don't test too many things at once. Also, don't assume early results are final. If you've set a test for 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever that is, you might think you have all the information after 24 hours, but don't just end the test there. Really run it for the time that you've set to run its course, so you are certain of what that data is. And again, don't forget to track that data. Donately makes it easy if you're doing it in the campaign because you can track that activity, but just don't forget to track, because without the data, it's not testing. You're still guessing. And here are a couple things that you can start doing to get moving this week. The good news is you don't have to do everything all at once, which is awesome if you're a small team. I also think that progress doesn't just come from launching a huge campaign. It comes from really starting one that teaches you something. So there's a few small actions you can take this week just by choosing one clear goal. Do you want more conversion, more engagement? Like, just pick one that you want to try and solve for in this A/B campaign test. And then, really, again, pick one thing to test. Don't overthink it, whether it's a headline or image, what have you. You can create 2 simple versions of your landing page that just has one difference. You can also start with like a small test group. Board members, recurring donors, longtime supporters. Send both kind of versions to 15, 20 supporters. It isn't about volume yet. It's honestly just about getting those insights. And finally, I think you should really just block off time once a week to really kind of check these results. Small steps done intentionally can really help you build better campaigns. They can help with producing more confident messaging. And most importantly, for that long term, it provides real donor insights of what you're looking for. Here's an example of just quick A/B testing of a landing page for a recent campaign. The top 2 are really just changes in the header and the subheader. This is a walk to feed OC, or are you stepping up for Hungry Leaf? And together, one step at a time, what can you do? The second option is keeping the header the same, but maybe you're changing the donation form. Again, are you just asking for monetary amount, or are you adding in maybe more tangible ways to ask for these donation amounts? Feeding a child for a month, feeding a family for a year. That might be more impactful to people, instead of just saying, I want to donate $100, but what is that $100 going toward? So different changes to the appeal form or header, images, this can all be ways that you can simply run A/B tests and log all of this data successfully on your back end during this time period. And then I know we're getting super close on time, but I really, before we jump into Q&A, I just want to say thank you for letting me get all this out in this first 30 minutes. Thank you for joining today. I really hope this gave you at least some practical insights of how A/B campaigns can help you better understand your donors or boost engagement in meaningful ways. But more importantly, I hope it reminded you that you don't have to do it alone. There are resources out there to help you, whether it's through Donately or not. But on Donately side, like, we have different campaign templates that are ready to launch. The marketplace gives you really great resources for this. And also reach out to our team. The QR code that's on this slide will take you right to a forum that'll connect to my team's calendar. I personally love connecting with teams who aren't quite sure where to start, but they know they're ready to take the next step. Because when you have a partner that's in your corner, launching that campaign, it feels more possible and doable because you have someone to kind of get that feedback from. And if you're a small organization or you don't have a large board, you might be second guessing or questioning it. And I think that utilizing our success team is I want you to utilize it. That's that's what the goal is. That was the goal for the marketplace, and it's what Donately and my team is here for. But that was just kind of like my little spiel of thank you for coming. I will, I know we're at time, so I understand if you have to hop, but I will open it up for any questions. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Like I said, if I can't get to yours, I will follow up personally via email after this session. Also, if you don't have any questions, I would really love your input as well to throw in the chat. What other campaign building topics would help your team? Is there a campaign format that you're interested in? Are there questions that you have in terms of different types of messaging? I'd love your input so I can put together more of these type of presentations that you would find valuable. And it just, again, after this webinar, I will be sending out the slides. I'll send out the recording as well as the playbook. And if you want to talk through how this could work for your organization, please scan that QR code that's currently up. You will reach a form that will connect to our success team. It's not a sales team. It is our customer success team. So there's not going to be any kind of pressure. It's just, let's talk strategy. Let's talk about how you can optimize what you're already doing. Again, grateful for your time today, and I hope I'm able to connect with you after this to help with any of your future campaigns, especially as we lean into year-end giving. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll stay on while I'm kind of reviewing, and I will hopefully be able to answer any of them. And if I can't, I will follow up with you in an email afterward. But thank you so much. Let's see if I have any questions. Sorry, I'm looking at different screens. Let's see what is going on. Victoria, you had a really great question. The question was, what is a good method that you've used to split the data into a fair A/B test? And is there specific tools that you use to ensure that the gift size, year of giving orgs are considered when splitting into these equally? I think making sure that you have a solid CRM is, the best place to start. Whether that's Donately, whether that's HubSpot, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Salesforce. I think all CRMs are really great at allowing you to tag or add certain features is the wrong word, it'll come to me, but notions about each of your donors. So are they a reoccurring donor? Their donor history, so you can see have they given large donation gifts, or are they more small dollar gifts? Both are important, but it varies your messaging. I would say first you want to look at how often donors are giving. So one-time donors and only one-time donors should really easily kind of be split into one first kind of category, and your reoccurring donors in another. Another way to kind of look at that is maybe the high dollar donors versus lower dollar donors. And this is great too for different types of appeals. You might have like a sponsorship coming up where you don't want to have people think it's out of their range because they're getting an email asking for like sponsorship levels of 500, 1,000, 2,500, 5,000 when they're only giving say $10 a month. But if you have that clear data where you can kind of segment and say, okay, well, these are all of our high dollar donors and these are all of our lower dollar donors, you can send it same campaign but different messaging to those donors about how $1 a day, so $30 a month, how that impact can really have on your mission. I would say that adding tags, especially, I'm a fan of HubSpot, I'm a fan of MailChimp. Adding tags to what these donor kind of buckets are is a great starting point, because you can have donors in multiple buckets. You can have a donor that is high dollar donor and also a reoccurring donor, and they can still get double emails because it's touching them in different ways. So if you're sending out how a reoccurring gift is supportive and how it can appeal to your donors long term, or not your donors long term, your mission long term, that's something that as a reoccurring donor, no matter what dollar amount I'm giving, I would find impactful. I want to know what my gift has done over the last year that I've been giving. On the same flip side, if I'm a high dollar donor where I give, $1,000 at the end of the year for year-end giving, or even more than that, I'm also going to want to know at the end of the year what that can go toward, how I can help. So I don't want you to think that just because you're segmenting donors and lists that they can only get one or the other. In fact, you want to keep engaging with your donors. You want to keep sending messaging out with them, because there's so many organizations, and you don't want to be lost in that shuffle. So I think using tags, especially to split that data into a fair A/B test, is the way to go. HubSpot and MailChimp are great tools for that. I can, Victoria, send you a message after this webinar just with other like specific details or screenshots of that. But I think that's really what you want to do, is kind of really utilize tags within your CRM. And then that'll kind of help you base your messaging on those tags. So if they're high dollar donor, reoccurring donor, first time donor, have been donating for over 10 years or 5 years because they're more of a legacy donor, all of those is really impactful. And then from there, you can even break it down further based on the type of gift they give, demographics, male, female, age, how they give. Is it mobile wallets? Is it checks? Because if they're giving checks or cash, you're probably going to want to not email them as much, but maybe send them an actual letter asking for donations. So tagging as much as you can when you're getting this data, which a lot of you can track from your donation forms as they come in your CRM, is a great way to at least kind of looking at your segments from like a top level going into it, and then based on what kind of messaging you want to send, tagging those or kind of segmenting those groupings of your donors to it. Hopefully that helped answer some of your questions, but I'll follow up as well after this webinar in case you have any others. But I don't see any other questions in the chat, so I appreciate all of your time today. Thank you for letting me go a few minutes over, but I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you all at our next Lunch and Learn next month. Thank you so much.